Hello and welcome to episode 3 of our actual play of A Perfect Rock by Nick Gralewicz, an actual play that follows Norton and the survivors of the Nexus, this hyper-intelligent species of mice people, as they look for a new home among the cosmos. And last episode, they actually discovered and explored their first planet. And I wish I could give good news from that planet, but it was this cube planet filled with these very deadly sandstorms that created mirages, and the sand in those sandstorms were actually like very sharp cubes, so not great. Not a great place to call home. Along with that, there was a very, very giant crab monster that looked like it was plucked out of an N64 game, and a very strange tower that seemed to be terraforming that planet. So with all that information gathered, Norton retreated back to the Dark Helix, the starship, looked over all of his notes, and realized that if this is the best it's going to get for home planets, the people of the Nexus might be in trouble. So, with that being said, Norton started his new path towards a new star system, and that is where we are actually going to be starting today, as we do a little bit of a time jump as Norton and the survivors are making their way once again through the cosmos to a new star system looking for that perfect rock. So, let's get into that. So, just like last time when we were journeying between different star systems, we are going to answer a question about the ship and like what has changed or what is changing as we do a little bit of a time jump. Like I said last time, we don't have faster than light travel, we don't have the ability to just warp to these new star systems, so it takes months, years, a long time to get to these new places. So once again, I'm going to roll a d6 because we are now in the Aetheric Nebula, this magical land, magical space, I should say, not land. We have the possibility of rolling a 5 and getting a prompt discussing what the magic of this place is doing to our ship. So that's now a possibility. That was a possibility before, but now it is. So let's roll a d6 and see what part of the ship we are going to be answering a question about. And I kid you not, I rolled a 5. I was like thinking, I was like, it's gonna seem like it's a scripted if I roll a 5 here, and that's a 5, everybody. So we are going to talk about outside influence influencing our starship, the Dark Helix. So I'm going to roll another d6, and we are going to get a prompt discussing the influence from the Aether on our starship. I rolled a 6. An aspect of reality that is distorted by the Aether. What is easier or harder because of it? Okay, so we are currently heading to Palos, this new star system. The survivors and Norton probably are a little shook up from that last planet. Like I discussed last episode, they are very scientific people, and they just had their first run-in with magic. I think Norton still doesn't believe that it is magic. It is just something that is far science or super advanced science that he can't understand. I think that's still his reasoning. He did grab some plants and fruit from that planet, so maybe this is where that comes into play, because I did say that it was like a curse and a blessing, and we haven't really fleshed that out yet. So yeah, an aspect of reality that is distorted by the Aether. What is harder or easier or harder because of it? Let me think about that for a second. Okay, so I kind of have a thread I want to pull at. The Nexus, the original home planet for the species of mice people that Norton and the survivors are, we discussed in that first episode, it was this planet that was very, like, industrial, very hyper-industrial. It had a lot of mega cities, a lot of corporations, a lot of things like that. What if the Dark Helix isn't the most well put together ship? It was just kind of thrown together because it couldn't make a profit, so it was just kind of this crudely shaped ship as the planet was collapsing to go out under the stars. And maybe at this point, as we are traveling between these star systems, the Dark Helix starts having like issues within its mainframe, within its like the whole hulls of the ship. And I'm thinking maybe like what if what if it starts having electrical problems? And this can kind of tie into those the fruit that was gathered from that first planet, because there are these like cube fruits, but there's something deep inside. And I think like maybe after a year, like the people of the Dark Helix are trying to really conserve their power, because I mean, first of all, the first planet they ran into was not a place they can call home. Unless other planets are like way worse, like that is not really a candidate right now. But things are getting bad. They still have to go to 2 more star systems as they look for this new homeworld. At least that's how much fuel they have. And I think maybe during one of these like blackouts where they're conserving electricity, the people of the Dark Helix are like, maybe there's a curfew or something. I think Norton is in his greenhouse. He is tending to his plants. And maybe one of those cubicle fruits falls, hits the ground, breaks open, and this dust is released into the air, kind of very much like those sandstorms that were on that first planet. It's very chromatic and very almost whimsical, and it's released into the greenhouse and starts moving around. And I think as this like cloud of dust begins to move around, like as it gets closer to lights and other electrical things, it like powers it up quickly. So Norton has this fruit, doesn't know how it's powering this thing, but like it's another source of power that the Dark Helix can use. And I think Norton gets to work on harvesting this fruit and this like magical essence within these cubes, and he begins using it very reluctantly because he doesn't know what it does, but it is a way to like power the Dark Helix. And I think this happens maybe like a year into this like curfew for electricity and keeping things conserved. He uses this, the survivors use this as like a last resort, and I think it slowly begins to change the ship. I think strangeness starts happening within the ship, like magical strangeness. Maybe like there's some like kids playing in a hallway, and then suddenly like they're just flying around, and then they land, and they're like, what's going on? And it's a very unstable like power supply, but it is a power supply. And I think that is how the ship is slowly becoming distorted, is they are using this weird magical essence to start to power their ship. And Norton is like very stressed out about it, but also like starting to like realize that he might not be able to understand these things. And I think we'll say this journey takes 3 years. By the end of that 3rd year, as they are getting to Palos, this new star system, like maybe they're starting to understand this magic. Maybe the ship is taking more of an arcane, I don't know, look to it. Maybe the ship is now becoming this like weird twisted thing between like industrial but then like also organic magic. I don't know what that looks like. And yeah, that's it. So we're now using this magical essence as a power supply. Very unpredictable. No one really knows what's going to happen with it. And yeah, we are now at the new star system. We are now at Palos. So let's start exploring this planet. Going to throw up the Palos star system page right now so we can go over it real quick before we explore this planet. At the top, it says Palos is a lonely red dwarf star nestled deep in the oldest part of the Aetheric Nebula. Everything in this system feels ancient and forgotten. The star, the planet, even the magical Aether itself. It has one candidate planet, like I said previously, and the theme for this area is old and forgotten magic. Along with it, it has 2 tags, the Aetheric Nebula, which that's the ability to, you know, see how the Aether is changing our ship. We already unlocked that with our last star system. And we also unlocked a new route. The person who explores the secret planetary aspect will also find the Nebula map, a strange artifact that allows your starship to warp to any star within the Aetheric Nebula. While you have this map, you may journey between Forna, Palos, Aurora, and the Cradle as if they were connected stars. Okay, cool. So when we are on this planet, we are going to find that map, which who knows what that will unlock. Maybe this planet is when we start really diving into magic. Is Norton going to reject this magic? Are the survivors of the Nexus going to reject this magic? Or are they going to, you know, try to embrace it? Who knows? But let's explore this rock. So the first thing we do when exploring a planet is we first decide which rock we are going to use to represent that planet and its aspects. Remember, the rock is there to help us get ideas and to help flesh out this planet more. I do not have physical rocks. Well, I do, but I'm using the rock collection from the book because it is a wonderful set of rocks. So let me roll that d20 and see what we got. A 15, which is turquoise. Ooh, okay. I'm throwing that up on the screen right now if I haven't already. Turquoise, I mean, it is this wonderful bluish green rock that has some gold specks to it. This is an ancient magic star system, so we definitely have a lot of things to work with here. And now we are going to actually explore the planet. I'm going to do things a little bit different this time. Before I went step by step, kind of talking it through as we went. I kind of want to try a montage right now. I'm going to roll up all the stuff for this planet, and then we're going to discuss it after that. I mean, why not? Let's try it out. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, you know, it's just still a montage, so I'll see you in a second. All right, after rolling some dice and pondering the turquoise, we have a planet to explore. So, picture this. Starting on the Dark Helix, Norton, in his little shuttle, his shuttle that has his, you know, mechanical hamster ball that he travels the planets with, launches and heads towards the surface of this turquoise planet with these different, you know, broken areas of gold. As he first hits the atmosphere, he is hit with a giant force of energy. As you see, I rolled a deadly on the sky, and I feel like as his ship is going in, it is being pushed all around, left, right. His ship's scanners are going wild as he goes in. He's thrown everywhere, back and forth. And I think he is originally knocked off course due to this power. As he gets closer, he gets into the climate, and he runs into these plasma storms that are filled with magical essence. Once again, just completely eliminating his scanners, all of his equipment to better understand this planet before he even hits the surface is thrown out of whack. For the climate, I rolled a blessing and a curse, and I think the curse is that the magic of this planet, very much like the Dark Helix is now using magical essence to power it, overpowered all of his equipment. It is powering his equipment, so he's not completely in the dark, but it has overpowered it and is making it act strange. But it might also be a way for the Dark Helix to, you know, generate more of that magical essence to power itself. So that's the blessing and the curse there. After that, he lands not where he wanted to land. He lands in the turquoise, and he finds this wasteland, these canyons of blue and green, and just sharp edges, and just, I think that magic that's in the air and in the turquoise area, incredibly overpowering. I feel like there are magic tornadoes and storms and just general weirdness, very much like the Q planet before. And as he lands in this strange place, his instrument's not working. He begins pushing and going and moving as quickly as he can. And he eventually makes his way to one of those large patches of gold on this planet. And as he arrives there, he finds this perfect ecosystem of golden, and I mean pure golden plants. Think of a forest, but if everything in that forest was just pure gold, the plants, the rocks, the water. And he finds that while he is in these gold patches of this planet, the magic isn't as dense. It is survivable, but it's weird, it's strange. I rolled on the flora, it is perfect, so there's these perfect golden forests, and then the fauna is strange. And I think as he maybe even opens up his mech ball and gets out, he sees this small family of deer, pure golden. You can't even see like the whites of their eyes or their irises. That is also all golden, and almost like a hive mind, because these creatures are supposed to be strange due to the dice roll. They all look at him at the same time, and I think there's maybe some rabbits and some birds, and then all at one time, just everything is staring at Norton, which is very, very, very strange and probably really unnerving. But it's not dangerous. It's just strange and weird here. And I think Norton creates a little base camp in this golden forest. He still has to find a way to recalibrate his instruments and get back up to the Dark Helix. So he's going to spend some time on this planet learning more about the magic here. Maybe this is, maybe we'll say this is like a month. He's on this planet for a month, stuck there in a land that is pure magic, this thing that he was already fighting against. And I think this is maybe when Norton is starting to be like, okay, this is something I don't understand, but that doesn't mean it has to be bad. This is something I can try to understand. And I think during that month-long excursion within these golden forests, he runs into a golden kingdom. Like, no one's in it. There's no people within this kingdom. Everything is gold, and that is where he finds the secret. That is where he finds the Nebula map, which gives him access to all the different locations in the Aetheric Nebula. Yeah, I think eventually he figures out how to get back to the Dark Helix. He returns changed. I think parts of his fur is now like golden, not just like blonde golden. And like the magic has started to change him, and maybe he is starting to see things more through a magical lens where it doesn't make sense. But maybe he also learned that this magic is powered through willpower, and I think that is how maybe he also got back to the Dark Helix, is that he started to get a better understanding of how to wield this magic, and that's what fixed the ship. So now when he's back at the Dark Helix, this magical essence that he was struggling with, he begins to wield, and the ship begins to change, maybe even taking on that golden property of this planet. He then spends some time collecting some of that magical essence from the storms so he can use this nebula planet map to travel to one of these star systems to keep looking for a new home. And I think unlike the first planet, there's a little bit more hope here. The golden areas of this planet you can survive on. It's weird and would take a lot of adjustments to the survivors of the Nexus going from these mega cities and polluted airways to this land that is pure golden and also just very natural. But it is a possibility. I mean, it's much better than, Cube World with the cube crab. And yeah, that is this planet in Palos, and I think he begins to look at all of his options. With this nebula map, we can go back to Forna, which I don't really want to. That we don't need to go back to the cube planet unless that is the best planet, which that'd be wild. But we can also go to Aurora and the Cradle. And I think we're going to roll a d6 here. We're going to do 1, 2, 3 for Aurora and 4, 5, 6 for the Cradle. And we're going to do that because I think maybe when Norton was down on that planet, when he was in that Golden Kingdom, when he found this map, maybe he found some research, and some of that research led him to decide on either Aurora and the Cradle. I'm going to roll a d6 to see what evidence, what that research led him to decide on. 6, so we are going to the Cradle, and that's also going to be our last star system we explore, which we'll be exploring in the last episode, which is coming out next week. The last thing I want to do before we end this episode, though, is I want to actually do another ship scene as we are making our way towards the Cradle. I think Norton learned a lot from this journey. I think he is changing. I think the people of the Nexus are changing, and I think we can make some choices here that are going to lead to hopefully a very fulfilling finale. So we're going back to the ship aspect. Norton is back on the ship. He has his keepsake, which is this nebula map. He now has golden fur, like golden. When I'm saying golden fur, I'm like thinking like part of him is like actually golden. Maybe his like left paw is, and like patches of his face now have like golden aspects to them, and maybe there's like this weird magical twinkle in his eye. And I think he's less introverted now too. I think some of his plants also become golden, and I think he wanders now the ship. I think he's really becoming a changed mouse. He's maybe embracing the magic right now. So let's see how the ship is changing now that Norton is kind of embracing this magic. And also, like, this is not where I thought the story was going, I said in the first episode, we have choices here. We can go towards the lost alien civilization, or we can go towards this Aetheric Nebula. We rolled some dice, we went towards the magic, and now we have this completely strange story that it's wonderful. I love it. So let me get to the ship aspect. I also want to note here, There are rules for playing a Perfect Rock solo in the back of the back of the book that have you rolling up another important person and also having you do 2 ship prompts every time you travel. It's great. Those rules are great. I'm just going to keep it simple for this playthrough. I mean, it's episode 3, so I don't know why I'm saying this now. But I did want to point out, if you wanted to play the solo, but you wanted a little bit more interaction with other like named NPCs, or you wanted to flesh out the ship more, there are rules for that in the back of the ship. The back of the, not the back of the ship, the back of the book. Okay, so last thing we're going to do is we are going to roll a d6 to see which aspect of the ship we are going to explore. I rolled another 5. It bounced off a rock, and I rolled another 5. That means we are going to explore how the aether, the magic, is influencing this ship, which I think is kind of perfect with the direction of where this story is going. I'm going to roll another d6 to see which prompt we get. We get 2, which is control. A way that aether is being controlled and used. What are the side effects of this use? That is actually kind of the perfect prompt. Norton has embraced the magic. He has returned, probably surprising a lot of people on the Nexus. These survivors, these very scientific survivors who have watched the person leading this ship kind of transform after being on this strange planet. Oh, also, we didn't name this planet. I think he still names it 002, but he's starting to really question that, like, if that's how he should be naming these planets. I think he's going to, maybe next episode, actually come up with good names for these planets. Also, I'm really bad at naming planets, or just naming anything in tabletop games, NPCs, locations, so I'm going to think on that too. So we're gonna come up with some better names for these planets. But he has returned to the Dark Helix. He has taken on this magical properties, maybe even magical thinking. Maybe he's changed, like, at a deeper level too, other than just like the gold aspect that he has taken on. Maybe he is just, I don't know, more whimsical, more wizardly, if you will. Like, he's not hiding away most of the time. Like I said previously, he's out and about, and he controls this magical essence now. What are the side effects of this use? I think the side effects is he becomes more golden, which is weird and also kind of little like cosmic horror-y, but I don't think it's like he's turning into the material that is gold, so he's not freezing in place, but he is transforming and like turning into this like almost moving golden statue, which I think there are some people on the Dark Helix who are like, we need to like make sure like medically he is fine, but I think Norton at this point is just like, it will be okay, the stars will guide us. I think maybe he's more spacey now. He's like, magic will guide us, which I think might cause some conflict within the Dark Helix itself, because, you know, that's a big culture shift. So the way the aether is being controlled and used, I think Norton has unlocked something in which he is pulling some magical essence from the planet in Palos. He is bringing it into the ship. He has found a way to control it himself. The ship is now fully powered, but it is still having those weird side effects where magical randomness keeps happening. Things are becoming gold. Maybe like one day they walk into the cafeteria and like half the cafeteria is just golden now, which, like I said, some people are probably okay for, other people probably freaking out. And I think this is another like 3-year time jump. And I want to say, because I like a little bit of conflict, if I'm being honest, I want to say as we get to the cradle, the ship is very much at odds with itself. Half of it is still maybe like very technological, very scientific. The other half is really embraced the magic, including Norton, which is a big turn for him. And I think maybe there are like 2 factions forming within the Dark Helix, of like, no, science is what we needed, what we know, we need to rebuild that way, where Norton and his followers are like, no, we need to embrace this weirdness, let's see what we can do here. And we have a very interesting finale coming next week. I'm excited to explore the cradle. I'm excited to see where the mice of the Nexus decide to land, because they don't all have to go to the same place. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Once again, this was a Perfect Rock by Nick Gralewicz. At this point, there is a how to play guide up on my YouTube channel, so if you want to learn how to play it in a really quick like 8-minute video, go check that out. And yeah, next week we are doing the finale for this, and I'm very excited. So until then, be excellent to each other.